Tonight for homework, you're going to go back into your writing journal and you're going to find the fourth picture that you glued in. At the top of that picture, it should say character development at the top. This was the picture that you chose to write about one or a few more of the characters that were in this story and really let the reader know more about the way those characters were feeling and their descriptions, what they looked like, and kind of their personality traits so that it would improve your story. Tonight for homework, you're going to use a green highlighter and go to your fourth picture to highlight details that prove that you used character description in your story. You are looking for a total of 5 details that will help paint a picture of your character in your story. This section right here, I'm just going to kind of highlight right around it because this helps paint a picture of how I was feeling on the inside. In the next paragraph, I give some details about my grandmother, Nana. I let you know that she's a real tough cookie and for her personality, and that she kind of came up with this saying, the tourist line, and that's, just describes her personality and lets you know that, one, she's creative, funny, and a little stuck up because she sure isn't going to stand in that line at all. Here are more details about the characters in my story. Up at the top here, you can really see what my grandmother looked like. She had white hair and she really resembled a famous lady named Barbara Bush. I also describe what the tourists that were waiting in line, what they looked like, being drenched in sweat. Then my story kind of shifts and I give more information here about what's kind of going on inside of Nana and the traits that she possesses that if you just were to look at her from the outside, you wouldn't see these things. But once you get to know her, you would. And so here are the details, like she loved beignets and she had a spunky, friendly personality, and she didn't care that she cut in line and made other people wait. She knew no strangers. Once she sat down, she would get to know anybody sitting next to her, and she would be so helpful and recommend things for them to do while they were in her city. So what's interesting is when you're writing about your characters, think about the way people see them on the outside, and then also think about what you know about the character and how they are on the inside, and use that to help you create the details. Remember, you need to have at least 5 details in your story. After I finished writing my story, I realized that I didn't have any information about Mr. Ray, and I wanted to add a little bit more about him. So I found a good spot in my story, kind of right after this sentence. More than likely, she cut because she loved beignets more than anyone else, and she knew her spunky and friendly personality could and would win over any angry tourist. So this is a spot right before we went and sat down at the table. So I decided this would be a good place to give more details about Mr. Ray. I call this an operation because an operation is when you're going to need to kind of make an incision in your story to add in lots more information to really help your story out. So when you make an operation, you need to make sure that you label them correctly. So for this one, I chose the letter A. You could do a letter, you could do a shape, you could do a number, but the most important thing is once you use one of these symbols, you don't want to use it again. So let me show you. I put an A in my story, and then I decided that I wanted to expand upon this idea. So after that sentence, I would add in, as we snuck over to the table, I couldn't bring myself to make eye contact with Dave. I knew he wanted to die. He hated breaking any rule, especially if he was possibly going to end up in a confrontational situation. When we sat down in our seats, Dave whispered in my ear, "I swear this is the last time I'm coming here with your grandmother." I knew what he said wasn't true. He loved Nana and could never... Miss Ray needs to finish her sentence. So, Once again, you're going to see that I gave details describing Dave and us. I put in here how I knew he wanted to die, just how much he hated this. His quote that he said to me definitely shows how he's feeling here. And I give kind of some background information that people wouldn't be able to see, but I know this about him, and that is that he is never going to get into a confrontational situation, and he does not like breaking any rule. So I went and added this into my story, and you can see from my operation that I put a letter A right up here in my story so that you could see where this information needed to go in my final draft. Notice how I used this space right here at the top of my page to add in any operations. That's why we don't write in this space in our notebook. We use it for when we need to go back in and add in more details. Remember, Tuesday homework, green highlighter, find 5 details to highlight in your story that prove that you're using good character description.
This is the bonus challenge for tonight.
Turn to the back of your book and create a page that says character description, just like mine. And then you can make a list of how the character might feel and their traits on the inside, and then what you might see from a character on the outside. So this is optional because it is a bonus challenge. You don't have to do it, but you may do it in the back of your notebook. The password for tonight is football.